If you know what you're doing, you can make a very minimal amount of money and eat better than 99.999% of the masses out here who are eating massive amounts of junk food, massive amounts of processed garbage, massive amounts of sodas and canned goods, you name it. If you're smart, you can make $200 a month if you're just buying food for yourself, go incredibly far. You bump that up to $300 and you can eat like a king or a queen compared to how the masses are eating here in the Matrix. You can buy a 5-pound bag of spirulina for under $40. Considering the fact that you only need 5 grams a day, which is just a light teaspoon, that can last you months and months and months. So what I like to do, again, the question was something to the effect of, I'm really interested in health, I want a tight budget, do you have any recommendations? You bet, I've got a ton, because I've been there, I've done it, even in months where I'm making a lot of money compared to previous months with my content, and it's not a ton of money, some months are better than others. Even in months where I've made a lot more money than the month before, I still like to do what I call survival mode. I like to just have kind of a grassroots approach to it. Health shouldn't have to cost an arm and a leg. You shouldn't have to spend over $300, $400, $500 a month on your health for good food. No. It depends on how you want to eat, though. If you want to eat a lot of cashews that are organic and nuts and things like that, a 3-pound bag of organic cashews is like $36 for good quality cashews. I like to eat nuts, I like to drink almond milk and things like that, but I keep it to a minimum. Not just because it's expensive, but because my body doesn't really need it. It's more of something that I like for satiation, satiety, something that tastes good, something that's nourishing, something that makes me feel good when I drink it. I like warm almond milk. I even like warm organic soy milk, but I do not drink soy milk unless I make it with a soy milk maker, and I use non-genetically modified organic soybeans. I like to eat oats. Oats are incredibly cheap. I could survive on beans, rice, vegetables, oats, dried fruit. Simple things. Things that aren't expensive. Things that are, again, simple. Simplicity is where, if you can get on a diet of simplicity, you're going to make your life so much better, in my opinion. Because once you enjoy simplicity, once you enjoy not needing tons of food and things of that nature, your life becomes so much easier and so much more fulfilling because you let go of all the garbage. You've let go of a bunch of attachments, and now you have more room to take in the things that you actually need. You can enjoy things. By letting go of the garbage foods, you guys, you're going to open up your perceptions, in my opinion. Your blinders are going to start coming off. It's a beautiful thing. It can only be experienced. It cannot be talked. Excuse me. I can talk about this stuff 24 hours a day. Unless you experiment with it, unless you experience it, you won't really know what I'm talking about. So I'm going off subject. I'm having an ADHD moment, big time. What can you eat if you're on a budget and you want to be really healthy? Organic beans. However, buy beans in bulk online. Buy big bags of dried beans. Dried beans, you add water to them, you guys. 1 cup of dried beans, you soak it for 24 hours, all of a sudden you have like 4, 5 times, 6 times as much beans as you did before you soaked them. They plump up. A little goes a long way. It's nice when you're on a budget and you have a food that when it's dried and then you rehydrate it, it becomes like 6 or 7 times bigger. That's a lot of food. You can refrigerate that. You can make soups with that. I could, again, me recommending the things that I like can be difficult sometimes because I can get by and be happy with a very minimal amount of variety. I like eating a lot of the same foods often. I could get by on eating just beans with pinches of salt and a little bit of vegan butter. However, I like to, if I can, eat a lot of raw fruit with that. Raw vegetables, excuse me. I don't eat a lot of fruit. Excuse me. Now I know I've talked about this before, but if you're on a diet that's limited, if you're on a limited budget, You want foods that are calorically dense and that will fill you up and make you feel satisfied. And for that, you want things like rice, beans, oats, things like millet, things like quinoa, grains, things like that. You can do so much with that. You can take quinoa and spice it and cook it 1,000 different ways. Creativity is really your creativity is really what you need to tap into. Because again, I could have the same thing every night, for instance. If I wanted to eat quinoa every night, but I had some variety issue where I needed something that tasted different, I could easily do that. Again, one night I could make Hispanic quinoa with Hispanic spices and vegan butter. On another night, I could have quinoa with kind of Asian spices, and I could throw in some baby bok choy and lightly cook it, and some asparagus and some greens. You got a nutritional powerhouse right there. And quinoa is very high in protein, and it's high in a bunch of beneficial amino acids. Very good thing to add to your diet if you haven't done so already. It takes a little getting used to. It's not the greatest flavor at first, but like all health foods, usually, they don't taste good at first, and then they start to taste better, and so on and so forth. So, anyways, you guys, tackling this might be a long-winded rant, I'm not really sure. There's a lot of things to address. Unfortunately, with these videos, I always end up replying to questions, and then I post the video without going into depth the way I wanted to. So let's try to get into this. Vegetables aren't that expensive. Organic, yeah, they're a little bit more expensive, but you really want to try, even if you're on a budget. Now, I know organic fruits and vegetables, you can really, depending on the fruit or vegetable, raise your paycheck, excuse me. Your cost will go up quickly if you're consuming the wrong fruits and vegetables. Because some of them, I went to Whole Foods once, and I got a cantaloupe and it was like $9. I ended up not buying it. It's like, who can afford that? Even if I was incredibly wealthy, I wouldn't want to eat like that. That's a joke. I'd rather start my own garden, grow my own cantaloupes, and really get my hands into the soil. And instead of paying for things, eat the fruits of my labor. Much more enjoyable. Another thing you guys can do if you're on a budget is to start a sprout garden, and you can also buy a bread maker. I make bread here in Virginia. It was a $50 bread maker. It's got a 3-year warranty on it. If the thing breaks, I contact Amazon. They send me a new one for free. I have a pretty much a 3-year guaranteed slot of a bread maker that's going to work. I take flour, I mix it with vegan butter, almond milk, distilled water, and now I can make bread. I happen to like bread. A lot of vegans, a lot of people in the raw food movement bash bread. If you make bread properly, it can be one of the most nourishing foods, but it has to be made properly. Bread is a great food for winter. It's great for filling you up and making you feel satisfied. It's an emotional food, and that's why it's healthy. Emotional foods can be very healthy. A lot of people don't just need physical nutrition. They need emotional nutrition. They need mental nutrition. They need things that are going to fulfill them or make them feel satisfied. Satisfaction is one of the most important keys to health. If you're on a diet and you hate it, what's the point of doing it? You're going to be trying to feed yourself something for health, but you're destroying your emotions. You're doing something that you hate. Now, exposing yourself to willpower and doing things that you aren't used to, that can be a good thing. But if you genuinely don't enjoy or eventually enjoy what you're doing, you may want to second guess or reanalyze your path. I'm getting super tired. It's like 4:30 here in the morning. I'm going to try to go another 10 minutes. But a bread maker for $50, a bag of flour, depending on the quality, starts at like $3. One bag of flour can go a long ways. You can make 3 or 4 loaves of bread for $3 instead of paying $6 for a loaf of bread at the store that's filled with a bunch of chemicals, additives, preservatives, stabilizers, coloring agents. The bread's been demineralized. It's who knows how old it is. Again, it's garbage. Make it yourself. Initial investments are key. You buy a bread maker for $50, it may seem like that's a lot of money. It's actually not, because it pays for itself in the long run, because you can make loaves of bread for practically pennies on the dollar compared to what you're paying for at the store, and you're putting your own energy into it, and you can regulate what's in it. You can make it with clean water. You can put spices in it. I like to make fruit bread and add bananas to my bread, or dried fruit, cranberries, lemon zest. The sky's the limit. It's all about creativity. I like to eat potatoes. Potatoes are very cheap, and they're filling. But my ideal diet, you guys, is about 60 to 70% vegetables, primarily raw or lightly cooked to the point where the enzymes haven't been destroyed. When you superheat foods, you damage the molecular integrity of them, you rearrange the molecular constituents, and now you have bastardized foods. If you lightly cook them, if you lightly steam them, you're going to maintain a lot of the nutritional constituents and elements, and you're going to keep in a lot of the oxygen. Raw foods are beneficial to the body because they're not only alkaline, they are high on the pH value, but they deliver massive amounts of oxygen into the body, into the cells. We are oxygen deprived here in the United States. We are suffocating ourselves and literally drowning ourselves in bad health because our diet, depleted of oxygen, depleted of minerals, depleted of amino acids, depleted of essential cofactors, depleted of the quality fibers, pigments, you name it. So, to wrap things up, you guys, you can absolutely afford to eat healthier than 99% of the people here in the Matrix with a low budget. You got to remember that even wealthy people, they eat junk food. I know a handful of very wealthy people who are very well off, and they eat out every night. They're eating foods that they think are like exotic foods because they go to these restaurants, but it's garbage. Even the best restaurant chains, a large amount of them, are cooking foods that are genetically engineered. They weren't picked ripe. They're chemically altered, bastardized, filled with a bunch of dairy. Dairy's linked to a massive amounts of inflammation in the body, acidosis, damages your pH, you name it. So just because people are spending lots of money on their food, in no way, shape, or form means that it's actually healthy. Again, I'm all about hacking this system, and there are so many hacks out here. A poor man can eat better than the wealthiest man in the world if he has wisdom